All right, so if you want to turn with me to Luke 15, this is the second week of our series, Lost and Found, and I'm just going to quickly recap what we talked about last week if you weren't here, and then we're going to get on with our first parable. I'm really excited about this. So last week, we talked about verses 1 and 2 of Luke 15 are the only context that we have, and we have two groups of people. We have the excluded people, which were the tax collectors and the notorious sinners. And then we had the exclusive people, the religious people, the Pharisees. And these two people didn't get on very well, but the excluded people found themselves around Jesus. And we looked at why was that? Why is Jesus so attractive to them? And the excluded people found them around Jesus because Jesus was ruining a good thing that they had because they were on the top of they're on the top of the food chain, and they didn't like that. So we have these two groups of people. We have people who are social outcasts, people who aren't wanted, people who aren't liked by their own friends and family. Then you have these people who think they're better than everyone else and try and use love and try and use religion to control people. And they're both here in front of Jesus, and Jesus is about to share three different stories. And we're just going to look at the first story tonight. And we're going to do that. So do we have the words at the back, Joel? All right, so Luke 15, we're going to start in verse 3, and we're going to go to 7. I'm going to read it from the screen as well. Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders, and he goes home. And then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep." I tell you that in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent. Father, I thank you so much tonight as we press into your word that you'd be with me and you'd be with us as we hear what you're doing and what you want to do through us tonight. And Father, I just thank you so much that we just get the honor to open up your word publicly and to talk about you publicly. And I thank you for every person in this room, and I ask that you bless our hearts and our ears to hear what you have for us in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so this is like the perfect parable to start with. It's almost like Jesus knew what he was doing when he wrote this and he said it in this order. Because we have this very distinct story. And we learned that parables are stories that he uses to not just talk about specifics of people's lives, but actually to deal with heart issues and things of the heart. And Jesus uses a story that would have been very common for most people there, that it involves sheep. Now, how many people do we have from Wales? There we go. People who know sheep. Just there's more sheep in Wales than there is in England, right? Is there? I literally made that fact up on my own. Was I right? Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. It's sheep. It's a sheep story. Now, I love how he starts with this. He says this. There's a shepherd, and he has 100 sheep, but one of them, he loses one of them. One of them gets lost. What does he do? He leaves the 99 others in an open field, and he goes and finds the one. Because when he does this, you have to understand what's going on. In this moment, when he mentions one sheep, the tax collectors, the notorious sinners, the excluded people, their hearts begin to fill up with joy and excitement and anticipation because they feel like they're that one sheep. They feel like they've been excluded from the 99 others. They feel like they've been excluded from society, and they feel separate from everyone else. They feel lost where they are because they can't even be with their own people because they're looked down upon. And so in this moment, Jesus starts out with this story, and the excluded people, the people who feel like no one cares about them, no one loves them, no one values them for who they are, in their heart, there's someone notices me. Someone notices me, and in their hearts, they'll be getting very happy. There's this anticipation building in them. And at the same point, the exclusive people, the religious teachers, the Pharisees, the people who use religion to control one another, use love as a commodity and pervert the true meaning and nature of what love is, they're getting offended. They're beginning to rile in their seats. Have you ever seen someone who's so angry, they're sitting down, they just start moving They begin to move in their seats. They can't stand still anymore. Why? Because something inside of them is offended. Because they've built their whole life on this structure that if everyone just stays with us, stays with the majority, then everyone will be safe. But if you want to go that way, you can go that way, but we're not going to go and find you, because if you leave us, you're out. You're out of the club. You don't deserve our love if you leave us. If you get lost in life, we don't want you. You can be pushed out. We're going to stay with the majority. And if we stay with the majority, then we'll always have position, and we'll always have value, and people will always look up to us, and I like the sound of that. And so the exclusive people are beginning to feel this tension because they're just why the 1 over the 99? What's the logic in that? That if you look at something logically, and you think, okay, you have 99 of one thing, but you lose the 1, but you still have 99, that's pretty good. But not for this shepherd. For this shepherd, there's something so important about the 1 that he was willing to risk the 99 just for that 1. And tonight, this is what I feel. I feel in our hearts, in our lives, some of us, we don't know how we ended up where we are, but all we know is we're there. We don't know. It's kind of like going on a walk. I don't really like the outdoors. I'm from a city. I'm from Toronto. I like cities and buildings. I like skyscrapers. I see fields, and I imagine building complexes on them and building shopping malls for people to come, because I want people to be there. Yeah. Thank you, Phil. I want people to be there. And I'm like, well, it's just an empty field. It looks pointless. Let's build something on it, and then people will be attracted to it. Now, I don't know why I said that. Why did I say that? I'm looking at my wife, and she says, I don't know. Okay, then. So when I see something of value, I will do whatever it takes to get that thing. And logically, in this moment, the Pharisees and the religious teachers, the exclusive people, they don't see the logic in what Jesus is doing because they have the majority. And they're just we have everyone. The people who don't want to be with us, whatever, they can just go. But the shepherd says this in this story. He says, I will risk the 99. I will risk everything I've built up, because without that 1, the 99 just isn't the same. And tonight, whatever it is in your life where you feel lost, if you feel lost in your faith, you just don't know what's going on. For some of you who are in university, for some of you who just come for freshers, university can just be crazy. For some of you, this is the first time you've been allowed to cook by yourself. And that's a scary thing, isn't it? Freshers, am I right? I saw a Facebook status. Was it a Facebook status or was it a comment? Now, I think this is absolutely amazing that I heard a student, a first-year student, say that they did a whole week shop for 11 quid. Now, budget-wise, amazing. Health-wise, it's like ramen noodles and water. That's 11 quid. Now, sometimes you can think the value of what I'm putting in might be okay, I need to save as much as I can. I need to get on with life, and you know what? I know what it's like being a student. I was a student. You know what? We have loans, and we have a limited amount of loans, and I have to use what I have. And so I spend 11 quid on a week's food. Now, if that is healthy, come and talk to me afterwards, please. because I'm spending a lot more than 11 pounds and I'm not being very healthy. So if that is true, please come and talk to me. But this is what I feel. I feel like for some of us, you can feel like you're somewhere in life, but you're just like, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why am I here? How did I get here? You can feel like, why are the relationships that I'm in not going the way I would like them to? Why am I finding myself in a place where I feel like I'm being used, not valued? And that can be it's a slight edge from being valued for who you are to being used for what you can do. Some of you, you have dreams and visions and aspirations that God's spoken really clearly to you from a young age. And you feel like, I know exactly what I want to do in my life. I know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm nowhere close to that. And I don't know why I'm here right now. And you just feel a bit lost. Some of you in your hearts, you just feel like, I just don't know what to do right now. I feel stuck. But this is what the shepherd is saying. He's saying he's willing to risk it all just for you. Just like Jesus is, he was willing to risk everything. He sacrificed everything for you, the one. For you as a person, as an individual, not just for us as a human race, not just for us as Christians. He sacrificed himself for the one because he knew how important you were. But the tension in this story is building because the excluded people are feeling like, yes, you finally notice me. I'm finally being seen for who I am. Someone who's valued, someone who's cared for, someone who can contribute. How many of you have ever felt by a raising of hands like someone hasn't valued you for what you think you're valued at, or someone hasn't shown you worth for what you think you're worthy of? Okay, look around. That's a lot of us. How does that make you feel? Shout out responses back to me. How does that make you feel? Bad. Yeah? Useless. Small. It makes you feel insignificant. It makes you feel like the one that's being excluded. But this is what Jesus says, is he's saying that he's willing to risk the 99 for you tonight. He's willing to risk all that he has just for you because you are so important and so valuable to him. The other thing about this lost sheep is I don't think this lost sheep knew how to get back home. When you're lost, that fundamentally means you're lost. You don't know where you are, right? So it doesn't matter if you realize all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm aware of my lostness. When you look around, you're still going to be lost. So there's not much you can do when you're lost to be found. This sheep couldn't, make a fire and make a massive SOS signal. The sheep just had to be a sheep and do what sheep do. Walk and other things. When I talk about animals, guys, I'm just making all this up on the spot. I just don't know what animals do for a living, other than get killed for food. But this is the point, that this lost sheep could do nothing to be found on its own, but the only thing it could do was wait. And for some of you, you might feel like you've been in a place of waiting. You've been in a place of, will I be found? Will someone find me? Will someone recognize me for who I am and what I'm worth, for what my value is? Some of you feel like you need to be found, but you don't know how to be found. But this is what I want to say tonight, that the shepherd, the good shepherd, that Jesus, he will find you. Why? Because he's looking for you. And the only thing that you have to do is be where you are at, and he will come to you. All you have to do is in that moment, when you feel lost, when you feel like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Instead of trying to fix it yourself and make it good yourself and try and find your way back home, you can't do that. You have to wait for your Father to find you. You have to wait for the shepherd to find you. And the good thing is that he will find you. That's the promise. The promise is that he wants to find you, that he wants to be in relationship with you. He wants you to be in his family, that you're just as valuable on your own than you are when you're with the 100. That you are valuable in your own right as your own human being, as yourself. That you are loved and you're cared for, and that you have an amazing destiny and a plan. And you're just as valued on your own as the same when you're with the 99 others. That sometimes when you're in the 99, when you're amongst the other people, when you're in a group of people, sometimes you can feel like you go unnoticed. Sometimes you can feel like people just look past you. People look through you. I've had several people tell me this. Now, I apologize if I've done this to you. I know I've done this to some people in the room. When I walk on the street, I usually have headphones in, and I'm determined. I'm going from point A to point B. Now, I've had people come up to me and say, hey, Chris, you completely blanked me in town today. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, I was literally 3 feet away from you waving at you. And I was like, didn't notice you. I'm really sorry. Because when I walk, if you ever see me, I'm walking usually with my head like, not angled like straight, slightly down, but I'm just trying to find the best path through people rather than notice the people. And so sometimes I can walk by and past people. And they're like, hey, Chris, what was up? What was that about? And I'm just like, oh, nothing. I'm so sorry I did that. I was focused. I was going to here. I'm so sorry that I missed out on you. And I have to be careful about that sometimes. And I'm trying to learn to enjoy my walks, because when I enjoy my walking, I notice a lot more things like people, rather than seeing them as obstacles that I have to make my way through. But this is something that God's showing me, that after the third person came up to me in 2 weeks, said the exact same thing. I was like, why are people coming up to me and telling me this? Like, what's going on? And God was like, maybe you need to take note. Maybe you need to learn to value what's around you in that moment and really appreciate what I'm doing in that moment. And so now when I walk, I try and walk with my head at a normal level, and I'm not walking to get to a place. I'm learning this, I'm walking to enjoy myself, to enjoy the present moment. That when I walk, I try and look people in the eyes now. Now I'm that weird guy who looks at you in your eyes while you're walking down the street. Why? Because I'm trying to enjoy and trying to look and be aware of what God is doing, what he's doing around me, that sometimes when I'm so focused on just myself and what I'm doing, and I think I know where I need to take myself, so I'm just doing it, I forget about the people around me and actually devalue the people around me. And if God said to me, hey, Chris, I need you to stop and I need you to talk to that person, I would not even hear it. Why? Because I'm determined. I'm focused on my own path. I'm doing my own thing. And sometimes I actually need to open my eyes to what God has put around me and just say, okay, I'm in this moment right now. God, what are you doing? And it happened last Friday. I was walking and I got to where Boston Tea Party is, and God said, Chris, be aware. And I was literally just about to ignore Jesus and what he said to me and move on. And I was like, no, I need to stop. Okay, fine. And as soon as I did that, someone came up to me and was like, hey, Chris, how's it going? And I was like, hey. And he's like, yeah, I just waved at you, but you didn't see me. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. How's it going? And I was able to have a conversation with this guy for a couple minutes about what he's doing and how his day's going. Now, I was going somewhere, but I was able to show him in that moment that actually I could chat to him, that I was available, that I would make time in that moment. And sometimes we need to feel like that. We need to feel like we're valued for who we are and not just treated as an object. That God spoke to me very clearly about walking, and just like Chris, do not just walk past people and by people, but value them for who they are. And I don't want to be someone who does that, even though I'm legitimately, like usually, walking home to this building. That's the bulk of my journeys, to and from. And I have it pretty well timed and down. I know exactly how fast to go. I know exactly which lines to take. I figured it all out, and if it was just me and there wasn't anyone else in this city, I would be absolutely fine to do that. But God's just like, no, Chris, open your eyes. Look who's around you. Value the one. That if I am late to sit at my desk, but I valued the one, it was so worth it. It was so worth it. And tonight, I feel like this. I feel like this is what Luke 19 verses 10 says. I love this. The Son of Man came to seek and to save those who are lost. Let me read that one more time. The Son of Man came to seek and to save those who are lost. That the more we realize that we can't be found in our own right, that we're just sheep, that we're just standing there waiting to be found, that we can open our heart up to what Jesus is doing in that moment, even though we might feel like we're lost. We can say, Jesus, I give you this. What are you doing? Show me what you're doing. Sometimes we can feel unsafe, and we say, okay, Jesus, show me your protection. Show me where I need to be. Show me what I need to do. But this is the fundamental truth, that Jesus has come to seek and to save those who are the lost. Not only is he here to save you, he's here to find you. How many of you have ever played hide and go seek? Raise your hands. Best game ever. Hide and go seek. Guys, I'm Canadian. What do we talk about this? Don't be racist. Hide and go seek. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Whatever that was. Sorry, guys. So hide and seek. So we had an all-nighter for our youth a couple months ago. And what we did is we played hide and seek in this room with all the lights off. It was loads of fun, especially when you hear someone run and slam into a chair and go, ah! But it was so much fun. I remember playing hide and seek with my family in my house growing up. And we could only play in the winter when the sun went down early. And we'd turn off all the lights in the house. And my dad, he would go into his bedroom and he'd say, all right, to me and my brother and my mom, I'm going to count to a minute and then I'm going to come and find you. And that feeling when we left that room, it was so exciting. That feeling when you play hide and seek and you're like, where am I going to hide? What am I going to do? You're like running around trying to find the perfect hiding space. And I was young at this time. I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. Is that young to play hide and seek? That's a good age to play hide and seek. I'm not too young that I'm like hiding in the middle of the room with my eyes shut. But I think I'm pretty good at hiding at this time, and I hide. And I think I have the best hiding space. And I thought, my dad's never going to find me in here. And I'd hide, and then I would wait. And I would hear my dad walk down the stairs and walk into each room, and he would narrate his own game. I'm in the kitchen, and he'd walk, and I'd go, and I'm like an 8, 9-year-old kid. And I'm just like, I like tense up, and I just start to smile. And then, like every time you play hide and seek, you need to go pee as soon as you hide. And so I have to go pee as well, and I'm like, oh. And my dad finally goes into the living room, and I was hiding in the living room. And I thought my dad would not notice me pull the couch out from the wall about 2 feet. I thought this was the best hiding place ever. And so I'm lying against the wall, not sideways, which would have been a lot better, and a lot less noticeable, like lying flat like this. And I'm just like, and I'm like a young kid, and so I get nervous. So I'm shaking. I'm like, ooh. And so I'm making as much noise as a person who's lying still can make. And my dad's, I love my dad so much because he sits on the couch and he goes, something's funny. I wonder what's going on? And he lifts up the cushion. He's like, no, I think I'm gonna go and check in a different room. And I go, and he's like, yeah, I think I will. And so I think he's walked off, and me being me, I look. And so I stand up and I'm like, go to peek around. And just as I peeked around, it's like, I was looking out over. I was like glancing over, and then my dad decided to lie down on the sofa. I had no idea, and I was like, I think I did it. And he just goes, hello, son. And I screamed. Because he found me. And the feeling of being found is so nice that even though you can have a really good hiding space, but that feeling of when you get found, you're just like, oh, you got me. Oh, okay, I'll come with you. Now we're walking together, and then I, being a young boy and being the youngest child of my family, I know where everyone else is hid. And so I run with my dad, Dad, Mum's in that closet, and John's upstairs under that bed. And then they just go, Chris, that's my brother, my older brother. And my mum would just come out of the closet, and she'd be like, you're supposed to let us hide and be found. And I go, oh, I just couldn't wait. Because when you get found, you want everyone else to be found, because it's such a fun thing. Or if you're like me, sometimes you feel a bit bad because you get found first and you just want to ruin it for everybody else. Not to say that that's me all the time, but to say sometimes that was me when I was that age. But the feeling of being found is so important because it's the same feeling as going to hide. There's the excitement, there's the anticipation of what's to come. But the thing that defines it more than anything else is once you get found, you're with someone. You're no longer alone. That you get to do the rest of that game with the seeker, with the person who is there. And you get to walk with them. And let's have some real talk, guys. I'm just going to say it. I was scared of the dark when I was younger. The dark terrified me. I would cry my eyes out if someone turned off the lights in my bedroom when I was trying to sleep. I was like, no. I needed to have a nightlight, so I had a nightlight, and then I realized that one nightlight wasn't bright enough, so I had to get two nightlights and have them on opposite sides of the house, of my room, so there was light coming from both angles. And so I was terrified of the dark. But when I used to play hide and seek with my dad, the feeling that I loved the most was this: walking around the house in darkness with my dad, but feeling completely safe. Feeling like I was so secure, I was so safe in that moment that there is nothing and no one who could bring me any harm because I had my dad with me. And the same thing for you guys tonight. I feel like for some of us, we've been playing this elaborate hide-and-go-seek game with God. We've been hiding, just like I was hiding behind the couch. And so some of you might have better hiding places. But you've been hiding from him, waiting for him to find you. And sometimes we can think we have the best hiding space. If I stay here, he's never going to find me. But tonight is a night where you can be found. Where the seeker, the person who's out to find you, Jesus Christ, he is going to come and he's going to meet with you. He's going to find you and he's going to walk with you. And you're not going to feel lonely anymore. You're not going to feel upset anymore. You're not going to feel unsafe because you're with your Father. You're with the person who represents protection and love